Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. This is my channel, The Shades of Orange. Today I want to recommend where to start with mystery novels. I feel like a lot of readers are picking up psychological suspense and thrillers these days, but I find a lot of people don't necessarily read mysteries, and I don't know if that's because they think they're boring, if they don't have a lot of action, but I really enjoy this genre and I would definitely love to see more people picking up those books. So I wanted to give you some recommendations where to start if you're interested in picking up a mystery, or even if you're already reading the genre. I've got some underhyped books to talk about today that I think will add to your TBR list. First, I'm going to start with a cozy mystery, because one thing I've heard is that there are readers who are interested in reading a mystery novel but are really turned off by gore and darkness and violence and just not interested in reading a very triggering story. So I want to read a cozy mystery, which is kind of a word in the genre for a safer type of mystery. There is still a murder, but the violence and graphic content around that is really toned down so it feels very safe and comfortable. Honestly, I don't read a lot of those. It's not my thing. I go for the dark and disturbing books, but I have read some, and I'm going to recommend one today, which is The Beautiful Mystery, which is a book in the Inspector Gamache detective series by Louise. And this is pretty much as safe as a recommendation as I can give you for the genre. This is about a Chief Inspector Gamache who goes to a monastery to investigate the murder of someone in that monastery. And this is a closed community, so you know that one of the other brothers committed the murder. But other than the fact that there is a murder in it, it is very safe to read. There is no violence, there is no triggering content. It's so safe. And also the detective himself, or the chief inspector in this case, is a very well-adjusted man. A lot of times in mysteries, the main detective is very hardened and is an alcoholic and has broken relationships, but this is a happily married man who is very much an idealized character. So I highly recommend this one if you're looking to pick up a super safe mystery. It's about a whole bunch of brothers in a monastery. Honestly, it's as safe as it can be. So if you're shy about the genre, that is a really safe place to start. Louise is an excellent writer, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one. It's technically the 8th book in her series, but I feel that her writing got stronger in the later books, and you can definitely pick up this one without having read the previous books in her series. Next, I want to recommend a mystery novel if you're interested in reading about an amateur detective. This is one of my favorite subgenres in mysteries because I grew up reading a lot of YA mysteries, which tend to feature teenage characters saving the day, just like Nancy Drew. And so I want to recommend an adult mystery that fits that bill, that being The Life We Bury by Eskens. This is about a 20-something college student who goes to interview a dying old man who was years ago convicted of attacking and killing a young woman. There is some darker material in this book, but it's a great story if you're looking for that amateur detective, someone with no police background, going through and investigating a case, because as you can imagine, things are not as simple as they seem at the beginning of the story, and he starts to dig into this cold case and unravel the mystery with the help of a female friend. So it's a really great, fun story to pick up. I would say it's not the most complicated of mysteries. It's very much a book to read for the characters, for the story. It's a very fast, easy to get into mystery with straightforward writing, and I absolutely love this one. It's a personal favorite of mine, so I will keep recommending it until everyone picks it up. Next, I want to recommend 2 police procedurals. These are great if you want an actual professional saving the day and solving the case. First, I'm going to recommend In the Bleak Midwinter by Spencer-Fleming. This is a story that is told from 2 perspectives, one being Claire, who is a priest in this small town, and the other being the professional investigator, who is the chief of police, Russ. And between the 2 of them, they are trying to solve the mystery of a child who was left on the doorstep of the church. And then things go from bad to worse, and someone is murdered, and the story takes off from there. I like that this is a very straightforward mystery that's very easy to read, and I found it very gripping. It is a safer mystery compared to the next one I'm going to recommend, so it is fairly toned down in terms of the violence. The other book I want to recommend is a bit darker, so there are some trigger warnings in there depending on how you feel about serial killers and other graphic content. That book is Sworn to Silence by Linda Castillo, which is the first book in her series featuring the detective Kate Burkholder. I've been reading this on audio and have been loving this series. The first book is featuring the return or potential return of a serial killer to this small town, which happens to be next to an Amish community. And young women are disappearing and then turning up murdered. It looks like this is the work of a serial killer who was active many years ago, and the main detective, Kate, has a personal tie to the serial killer. It is a very engaging mystery and does have some good action moments, so it does have some quicker elements to it that are going to get you turning those pages to see what happens, a little bit of action, people pulling out their guns, so it's definitely a page turner. I do have to warn you that there is definitely some graphic material in there, and it definitely gets dark and gritty at times, which I personally love, but if you're not into that, skip this one. If you are into that, this is definitely one to pick up. I really found this a gripping mystery story and would love more people to read it. Next, I want to recommend books for people looking to get into the popular Scandinavian mystery genre. I could go the predictable route and recommend The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson, but honestly, I think there are better ones out there, and I found the translated work to be a little bit difficult to get into. The first 100 pages I found really slow and boring, and I just think that if you have to tell someone to slog through the first 100 pages to get into a book, it's maybe not the best place to start if you're newer to the genre. Instead, I'm going to recommend a different book that is set in Scandinavia, but is written by an American expatriate who moved to Finland and then wrote this book. So it is not translated, which I find makes the writing more straightforward. It's very easy to read. And the story is in some ways told through the lens of an American, so a lot of the story explains Finnish culture in a way that is easy to understand to a North American or UK European audience, so I found it very approachable. That book is Snow Angels by James Thompson, and this is about a detective set in a very northern part of Finland around Christmas, where a woman has been murdered and they are investigating this case. I found the mystery to be very engaging. I read it very quickly and was completely gripped in. And it was just a fantastic place to start. If you want to dip your toes into that area of the world, reading about it, but are a little bit turned off or struggle like myself with sometimes reading translated works, I struggle with the writing in those, but this writing again was completely straightforward, super easy to read, and the mystery itself was very engaging right from the start. This does have some very graphic material in it, so all the warnings, but if you're up for something a little bit dark and disturbing, which tends to be part of the Scandinavian mystery genre, this is a great one to pick up. Give it a try. It's a quick read and I just loved it. Finally, I want to recommend one graphic novel because sometimes you want to dip your toes into the genre without committing a lot of time, and I would recommend this book specifically to fans of Nancy Drew or Veronica Mars. This is great again for fans of amateur detectives, and again, because it's a graphic novel, it's super short and easy to get into, easy to finish. That is Goldie Vance by Hope Larson. This is about a teenage woman who works at a hotel, and she basically goes around solving mysteries of the hotel patrons. Within the story is a self-contained mystery which is solved within the trade volume, which I really appreciated that you actually get a conclusion to it. And it's just a really fun story. I enjoyed the characters. There's a lot of great diversity within this book, and it's just a really fun place to start if you want to, again, try mystery but don't want to commit to a full novel. So those are my personal recommendations for where to start with mystery novels. Of course, I read a lot of them, so I could do another video like this with even more recommendations. Please let me know if that's something you'd be interested in watching. Otherwise, leave me a comment down below which of these books you plan on trying out for yourself, or recommend where you think people should start with mysteries if they're new to the genre. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.